Here are the different types of relationships. Looking through Google for relationships advice, you'll find the top articles are delineating and categorizing relationships into different types, whether it's the 3 types of relationships or 5 types or 7 types. To which I say that it's much less helpful for you and in fact detrimental for you in your relationship building agendas to delineate and categorize your relationship into any sort, because each relationship is completely different from the next despite its commonalities and the things that are the same about those relationships, whether it's sexual, professional, or social. All of these relationships are each different on their own and each have their own dynamics and each have their own arrangements despite all of their commonalities, or despite whether they're all professional or all sexual or all social. Much more helpful for you to recognize that each relationship is comprised of arrangements and delineating between the arrangements rather than the relationship. That's what I want to explain in this video. Have you ever had the problem of you found yourself in a category, a type of relationship, and then you found yourself in a box and you can't get out of that box? That's what I want to show you on today's video. I'm Ron John. I am a relationships expert consultant, dating relationships for 13 plus years. I am the head trainer at Great Relationships University, and I have the top Tantra therapy business in the US. What I might outline for the video for today is, number one, is what my experience has taught me on relationships of 13 plus years as a dating and relationships consultant, and many other experiences. I'll show you that. Number two is what you should do instead of categorizing your relationship and what abstraction has to do with it. And number three is how to categorize your relationship based on arrangements and how that is helpful for your relationships. And my call to action for you, I will give you that by the end of this video, to put all of this information together and make it applicable in your life. Before I go over the training, I want to go over the sponsor for this video. Our sponsor for this video is Blockfi. Imagine a savings account, an app on your phone that you download on your phone, you put on your phone, and you can hold there your dollars and your Bitcoin, and you can buy Bitcoin with it. You could trade Bitcoin into dollars, or you could even get a loan against your Bitcoin. And they also came out with a credit card with 1.5% cash back in Bitcoin. And also, when you spend $3,000, your first $3,000, you get $250 added to your account. To apply for that credit card, head to the link on the description of this video. So let's go over the training now. The first thing I want to go over is what my experience has taught me about relationships as a relationships and dating consultant for 13 plus years, as a professional dominatrix for 4 years, and a professional companion. What it taught me that each individual whom I interacted and interfaced, and each client that I've had, has a very, very, very specific dynamic in the relationship. Each client that I've had and each client which I have consulted, each and every single one is completely different in their likes, desires, wants, and their partner's likes, desires, and wants, and therefore creating a different dynamic with every single one. And there was never ever any category that you could put them in. And in fact, putting them into category is not helpful at all. And there's a better way to go about delineating and increasing your intelligence in relationships. You've heard me say before that intelligence is just you're making more and more distinctions about things. The more distinctions and delineations you make about things, the higher your intelligence. And so when you imagine, because when you search on Google on relationships advice, the top articles probably from therapists or social workers or relationships experts, they make the delineations, the categorizations incorrectly. The approach is something that I would go about in a different way. I would categorize relationships in a different way, and I'll show you how to do that. So number one is what my experience has taught me, my experience as a relationships expert, relationships consultant, a professional dominatrix whose or the appropriate term is a dom, professional dominant, whose sole purpose is to facilitate that person's likes, wants, and desires, and as a professional companion, developing the ideal relationship with a client and living that out with them. What I've learned as a professional and expert in this field is that it's not helpful to delineate as types of relationships, but the more appropriate way to go about it is my number two advice, is that categorization of relationships into different types is not helpful to you at all. It's helpful for you in knowing what the dynamics consists of, for example, the aggressor and the dominant and the submissive, or whatever the case is, or the transcendent relationship versus the traditional relationship versus the conscious relationship. Things you'll find on Google if you search for relationships advice. It's helpful for you to know what goes on in the dynamic, but it's not helpful for you in building out your relationship. Much more helpful for you to recognize, number 3, to recognize that relationships are completely unique because each relationship, whether professional, social, or sexual, or personal, each relationship is comprised of individuals, therefore making each relationship an individual. Because when you have two individuals with their individual likes, wants, and desires come together because they like certain common things and they desire certain common things and they find each other attractive and compelling, they now bring into the dynamic their very own individualities. And so each relationship, whether there's two people or more, brings with it each set of unique individuals, a set of unique dynamics, each different from other individuals and each different from other dynamics. This applies sexual, personal, social, or professional. Every single one is completely different. So there is no such thing as categorizations of relationships. There is only the dynamics within the relationships and the arrangements. It is much more helpful for you to recognize the delineations between the arrangements and categorize your relationships as arrangements. And see what the arrangements are. What is an example of an arrangement? So let's say we'll go from personal to professional to sexual. Let's go in that manner. I'll give you an example. Let's say you meet someone who is very interesting and compelling, and someone whom you like as a friend. And so you create an arrangement. Hey, I think you're very interesting. I would love to have you as a friend. Would you like to meet up sometime to have a talk? Or would you like to meet up sometime for bowling or watching a movie? Or would you like to meet up sometime to talk more about marketing? I would love to share ideas and ping ideas with each other. And so you exchange numbers, and now you have specific arrangements. Now you have a certain time and place that you would arrange a setting in which you would communicate with each other and build intimacy, whether it's not sexual intimacy, it's just intimacy of getting to know each other. And then you find, once you've met them for whatever reason, you find that they're great people to be around, a great person to be around. And so you create more arrangements. Hey, would you like to meet my friends? And then the arrangement you'd make, hey, just so you know that me and my friends we're very close knit, and they're my very good friends. And I have a thing about friends in that I never make friends with people who would waste my time, since I have only 24 hours in a day, a very short life. And so these people are very, very special to me. And you'll find that because they trust me and I trust them, that they can trust me that if you were my friend and if anybody were my friend, they can rely that that person is a great individual to be around. And so now you made these arrangements. Hey, you've made a further and further arrangement in your relationship. Or you could make the arrangement, hey, just so you know, here are my pet peeves. I really, really dislike when people put shoes over my shoes. Rather than put it beside my shoe, in front of a doorstep. It's because, when a shoe, the reason you have a shoe is so you don't have the things that go under your feet and have a barrier beneath it. But some people put a shoe over another person's shoe, which annoys me since now they've essentially made the top of my shoe dirty. Or very specific things like that. As an example, now you made the arrangement that they recognize, hey, this is something that this person likes arranged and would rather not have. So you have these very little things that as they get to know you and you get to know them, you build your intimacy with each other. Now let's say you go into a professional realm and you build a professional arrangement with this person and say, hey, you know what, you're really, really great at marketing and I really love your social media. How about, since I have a business and I'm not very savvy with social media, how about we make a professional arrangement in which you manage my social media, and in return, I would pay you in exchange as a commission. With every client that I acquire as a business, you get a certain stake in that relationship, a monetary stake. So now you've built a very specific arrangement with that person in a professional manner. Now let's say the relationship goes forward in several years and you find them, we've been very good friends and you're a terrific partner and I've recognized that we really get along and I really like you. I find you incredibly yummy and I'd like you to make the offer that you're a woman and I'm a man, and that's a terrific arrangement. Now there's no hurry in this offer, but I'd like to let you know that I find you incredibly yummy, and the most important thing is that nothing changes between our professional relationship and our friendship. And cut. So now you've created an arrangement in which it's a more sexual arrangement. Now each relationship you have with different people because they're individuals that bring with it a different dynamic, you will make different arrangements with these people. That was just an example of how arrangements are, and categorizing relationships as arrangements rather than categories of relationship dynamics, which is not helpful because you can change the dynamic based on the arrangement. And each person will grow into different kinds, different sorts, will begin to like certain things and dislike certain things, and dislike the things that they previously liked or like the things they previously disliked. And so dynamics always change. It's not helpful for you to categorize into dynamics. Only recognize the intelligence of recognizing certain dynamics and then seeing that's not helpful, change it, or change it in ways that you would prefer. So my call to action for you on today's video is number one, recognize or even write down what arrangements do you have currently. And if you're open, share them in the comments below. I would love to hear them. And number two, what kind of arrangement would you like with another person? When you become very clear on these things, number one, when you're very clear on what arrangement you have right now, you can find out what things that you actually don't like and you've never liked, and what things you would like to arrange differently. And number two is what arrangements would you like helps you in recognizing certain arrangements in other people and the potential for that relationship, and communicating it clearly, effectively, and being compelling as a result. So we've gone over, as a review, number one, my experience has taught me that it's not helpful for you to categorize relationships in dynamics, but rather more in arrangement styles. Number two is categorizing relationships is not helpful. Number three is look at categorizations as categorizations of arrangements, and going with that, each individual is unique, each dynamic is unique. And the last thing is, what arrangements would you like? And what arrangements do you currently have right now? Become clear on those things. If you have any questions, I would love for you to share them in the comments below. If you think you've gotten some amazing value, you've learned some amazing things on this video, and you would like to reciprocate this value, I would really appreciate it if you liked or hearted this video, thumbs up this video, leave a comment below. If you really appreciate it, leave 2 comments on this video, and share this video with other people who might appreciate categorizations of relationships. It will help them really build out their relationship. I appreciate your time, and if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, I do 3 videos a week, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.